Good evening and welcome to another exciting week of the College Football Playbook. My name is Sean Wilkerson. I'm here to give you a breakdown inside of Week 6 as we approach Week 7 in the college football season. Last week we had a few great games that we witnessed. Texas knocked off Oklahoma, and then it came down to a wire. Huge win for those guys in Austin as Texas pulled off the upset. Also, Florida beating LSU the way they did. Huge win for those guys down there in Gainesville as they try to prove themselves that they're back in the SEC. As LSU, you got to bounce back from a big-time loss like that. And Stanford falling out of the top 25 as losing to Utah the way they did. This week in the college football rankings, we have a few shakeups as the top four stays the same. We have Bama at 1, Georgia at 2. We have Ohio State at 3, and then Clemson at 4. We have a new number 5 at Notre Dame. At 6 comes in at West Virginia. Number 7, we have Washington. At number 8, you got Penn State. And number 9, we got Texas. They moved on up, climbed up the rankings from a big-time win over Oklahoma. Then at number 10, we got Central Florida creeping on in there. They're one of the dark horses out there, I think, in the nation. But a few big games this week. We got Georgia going to LSU, which would be one of the biggest games of the weekend as both teams try to prove themselves as national contention, national championship talks start brew. Another big game, you got West Virginia going out there to Ames, Iowa, playing Iowa State, which should be a good Big 12 game as West Virginia tries to prove themselves as well. Another big game, Washington plays Oregon, out there in Eugene. But I feel like Oregon to pull out the upset of Washington as Oregon's a great team out there in the Pac-12. And UCF plays Memphis with a great American Conference game, as it should determine a lot in those races out there. The teams that hurt themselves over the weekend, I would say LSU and Oklahoma with the big losses the way they did. Another team, Kentucky, losing the way they did to Texas A&M as Kentucky tries to, get some SEC championship talks. And then another team that hurt themselves was Stanford with a big-time loss. They fell all the way out the top 25. Teams that helped themselves over the weekend was West Virginia. West Virginia proving that they can hang as they beat a good Kansas team, as Kansas always tries to fight week in and week out. Another team that helped themselves was Alabama, just proving their absolute dominance as Tua's playing well. First play of the game was a touchdown as the defense was playing awesome, and Bama is Bama. Another team that helped themselves over the weekend was Miami. Bouncing back from the early season loss to LSU. I feel like Miami may be back in Florida. Florida doing a great job of proving themselves in the SEC that they're saying that they're back. And we shall see in the upcoming weeks as Florida has a tough schedule. A few college football playoff rankings, I should say. My top 4, in my eyes, would be number 1 spot would be the SEC championship winner. They either be Bama or Georgia. We'll tell a lot over the weekend. The number 2 is going to be Ohio State. Ohio State has Michigan later on in the year, which will determine a lot out there in the Big Ten and even in that number 2 spot. Number 3, we got Notre Dame. Notre Dame is an independent as they don't have a conference opponent, but I feel like Brian Kelly and those guys in South Bend are looking pretty good. And then number 4 is early right now, but Clemson. Clemson's looking good right now, but on the outside looking in, you got West Virginia, you got Texas, you got Central Florida. We have a lot to see in the upcoming weeks of the college football season. But if you would, just leave your comments, and like always, go Dogs.